Sitting on this bucket in my mudroom to put my shoes on every morning, well, it sucks. Imagine if there was a bench or a built-in locker, maybe a place to put some baskets or some hooks to hang some random jackets on. And it'd be nice if this bench had some drawers built in so my wife can store all of the random things that she doesn't want me to know that we have. This video, I'll show you how to make a bench seat cabinet for your mudroom. And over the next few videos, we'll build some drawers ready for Bloom undermount slides. Give this locker a custom built-in look. You'll want to make sure you're subscribed down below so you can see what else we have in store. Enough of this. I need to get to work.
For this project, I'm using a piece of 3/4 inch premium wood veneer face prime backed and ready for paint plywood that I picked up at a local box store. Luckily for my wife, who wants me to get in shape, my shop is located in the back of the house on the lower level. This means I get the opportunity to haul heavy sheets of plywood from my driveway out front all the way around to the back of the house. However, this gator tool is designed for moving sheet goods and it is a huge help. I'm not sure I would be able to lift my arms the next day without it. This isn't a sponsored product or video, but I'll leave a link for the gator tool down below along with some of the other items I used to build this cabinet. Seriously though, if you move sheet goods at all, this thing is a lifesaver. Either way, I hope you treat yourself to one even if you don't help me out by using the link below. Back to building. To make the cabinet carcass, I start by ripping some plywood down to width. 2 strips like this will be enough to make the bottom panel, 2 side panels, 2 drawer dividers, and 5 pieces that will make some feet. I also ripped down the remainder of this sheet into 4 strips that will become 2 brace pieces for the top and 2 nailer strips for the back of the carcass. I was able to get all the plywood pieces I need for this cabinet out of 1 sheet of plywood. The 2 divider pieces will be attached to the nailer strip on the back. This means I need to trim off the thickness of a piece of plywood so they will sit flush on the front of the carcass. However, I don't want to simply cut 3/4 of an inch off the back of these pieces because my plywood isn't exactly 3/4 of an inch thick. I like to take a scrap piece of plywood, set it up against the table saw fence after I make all my 16 1/4 inch rip cuts, then make a mark with a mechanical pencil directly on the table saw top to set my fence to that mark and then make the cut. This cuts off exactly 1 thickness of plywood from the back of each divider piece, and it's way more accurate, and I didn't have to measure. We will wait to cut these to the perfect height once our carcass is assembled later. Now I can cut all the pieces that I need to length.
Now I have all my pieces ripped to width and cut to length. I have my bottom piece, a couple of divider pieces, 2 side pieces, and 5 feet.
Now I drill pocket holes in the ends of the top 2 brace pieces and the 2 back nailer strips. Everything else is just getting glue and nails. To start assembly, I attach 1 foot piece to the bottom end of the bottom panel using some glue and nails. I didn't feel like there was a need to pocket hole or screw these down in any way, but I suppose if you wanted to waste some more time and money screwing all of this, you could. I'll let you decide that though. Next, I attach a side panel to each end of the carcass using some more glue and nails. I did go ahead and add 3 1 1/4 inch screws to the side of each panel into the foot piece just to hold everything in place while the glue dries. That way I can get everything square without it moving around. Here I'm marking the locations for the 3 remaining feet. I'll score some lines, then glue and nail these in place too. Once that's done, I can get to work installing the back nailer strips and the top support pieces. These will get some glue and a couple of pocket screws on each end. One note, the top support pieces need to be flush with the top of the side panels, and the back nailer strips need to be flush with the back of the cabinet. I also spent some time getting everything nice and square. Then to add some rigidity to the strips, I pre-drill a few holes and sink some 1 1/2 inch screws through the top support brace into the top nailer strip and also through the underside of the carcass into the bottom nailer strip. Lastly, I can install the 2 drawer dividers. We already cut these to the correct depth when I drew on the table saw earlier. I just installed these with a few nails. I didn't glue them because it allowed me to move things around and tweak everything without making a huge gluey mess. The key here is to make sure that the openings are perfectly square and exactly the same width.
And here she is. She's not the prettiest girl at the dance, but that's all right. We're going to dress her up with a nice face frame, make her look good.
The top 2 sides and 2 dividers of the face frame will all be 2 1/4 inches in width. Now, it's really important to consider your drawer construction and mounting hardware when making your face frame. I will be using Bloom undermount drawer slides with the back mounting brackets to install my drawers. This means my face frame needs to extend beyond the sides of the carcass at least 3/8 of an inch for this to work. Making my face frame 2 1/4 inches wide gives me plenty of wiggle room for this type of application. foundation. I'm making the face frame with some poplar that I found at a big box store, and it looks like spaghetti. So I'm going to take just a minute or two to joint one edge on the jointer and rip it exactly to 2¼ inches in width on my table saw. I chose poplar because this piece is going to get painted, and poplar paints up really nice. Plus it's cheaper than some other options, and I'm cheap. I always start by cutting the top and bottom pieces of the face frame to length first. Then I clamp these pieces to the carcass exactly where I want them to be. I want the bottom piece of the face frame to be perfectly even with the bottom panel of the carcass to make installing the drawer slides a lot easier. But I want the top piece of the face frame to be perfectly even with the top of the carcass so it won't interfere when I install the bench top later. With everything clamped down, I can measure the length of the 4 pieces I need that will make up the 2 vertical side pieces and the 2 vertical divider pieces of the frame. Remember the pro tip, always measure from the end of the carcass and not somewhere in the middle. This will keep everything nice and square. Then it's over to my miter saw to cut 4 pieces all to the same length. When you test fit these, you want these to be the tightest fit you can get without actually moving the clamped top and bottom frame pieces. I actually cut these twice in order to sneak up on the perfect length to ensure a perfect fit. Next, more pocket holes. I drill for 2 in the end of each of the 4 vertical pieces. Make sure you're drilling your pocket holes on the right pieces and on the same side. Nothing is more frustrating than drilling pocket holes in the wrong place. Look at that guy, he looks upset. Bummer. To keep the frame square, I installed the outside vertical pieces first with some creative clamping, a little glue, and a couple of pocket screws. To install the inside vertical dividers, I take some measurements. Yes, I do measure sometimes. Then I cut some scraps to the exact width I want each opening to be and use these scraps to space everything out perfectly. Finally, I do a little light sanding before I attach this face frame to the carcass. Now, I decided to attach the face frame to the carcass with some glue, and you guessed it, or maybe you didn't, but that's alright. More pocket holes. Typically I just use glue and nails for this, but since I can hide these pocket holes and screws, this seemed like a slightly better option than filling a million little nail holes later.
So this is the first time that I've used pocket screws to attach my frame, and I gotta tell you, I really like this method. I don't have any nail holes to fill or anything, and I'm pretty sure as many pocket screws as I put in this thing, it's not going anywhere. Let me know in the comments down below what your preferred method of attaching a face frame is.
Lucky for you, through the power of YouTube, I get to spare you the part of watching paint dry. Apologies if you're into that sort of thing, but I'm not. However, I did prime everything before adding 2 coats of this really expensive Sherwin Williams paint. The color is Winter Solstice, which matches our kitchen cabinets in case you were wondering why we chose this. I didn't want to remove any baseboards to install this thing, so I attached a piece of scrap plywood to the studs in the wall as a backer. Then I screwed the cabinet through the back nailer strip, through the plywood backer, and directly into the studs. It's not going anywhere.
And here we have it, a beautiful mudroom cabinet that you can build yourself. In the next video, right over here, I'll show you how to install some Bloom undermount drawer slides without using all of the silly calculations that make your head want to explode. I'll also show you an easy way to make drawers without having to do some fancy joinery. Does anybody really like to hand cut dovetails anymore? If you do, let me know in the comments down below. For the rest of us, I'll see you over here. Thanks for watching.